So this will be a tutorial on fear, of course, and we will look how to capture a cube map, like a reflection cube map, and to apply it on a material. So we will do this with this small testing room. So first thing, I will just set this wall the same as the others. So we do a material, select material, and Control T. Then we reset the coordinates. So what we'll do is we will set a cube map reflection on this floor. We could use like a planar reflection, but for this tutorial we will do a cube map. And yeah, so if we select this material, this material I made for this tutorial, and first of all we will just this when you're doing the first thing you need to do when you for this, you need to select a shader that will accept CubeMap. So you need to open, and then in game shader, now rigid solid, because it's a solid surface, and we will select the specular environment. They call that an environment reflection. So we select this shader. I will not, it's already selected, so I will not do it again. And we have all those texture we need to enter. So the first one is the diffuse, which is our color information. We have our emissive. Now it's just black. The environment map is the cube map. The environment mask is a thing that is a texture that we will use to hide it will hide part of the cube map reflection. So we can say like this part can be less visible than the other part. So some part will reflect more with white value, and black value will make them reflect less. We will see that later. Next one is the normal map, and the last one is for the specular. So the only two different map with the shader reflection cube map is the cube map itself, and of course the mask. So first of all, we will need to capture the cube map in our level. So I will reset what I have here. So for the mask, I will just choose a black texture that the alpha is black also, and we don't have to care for the cube map itself. So I will just compile it. So here we have our test map, and what I will do is I will capture a cube map from this map here. Just wait a bit, I will check something. Okay. I hope the music is not too loud. Okay. So what we will do is that we want to press the F12 key on our keyboard. And when we do this, it will capture a CubeMap from the position of the player, and it will be located in a specific folder that is so if we look at the top here, it will be in your user public documents, and then in monolith production in your game here, and to be this map, this cubic environment map. This is what we just captured, and it's a DDS file. So you will need Photoshop with the NVIDIA DDS plugin to edit the DDS texture, or I think you can use GIMP also, but I'm not sure. So we'll use Photoshop. And if you look here, you can see what we just capture. So you can see we have the player in the view, and we don't want this. So I will show you how to remove the player from the capture. And if we look at how this texture is made, it's six texture, and those six texture will fold back into a cube, and it will be like an HDRI around the level. So it forms like a cube around the level, and it creates this kind of HDRI. So now I will capture the CubeMap again, but I will remove the player from it. And to do this, we will go in spectator mode with F2. And now I'm in spectator mode. And yes, the light is flashing. I don't know why. Sometimes it's happened, and I don't know why this happened. I need to talk about it with some people, and because the light flickering happened in my main map also, but not that much. But for some reason, this map, the light just don't want to. It's keep flickering. I don't know why, but that's not important for now. So I'm in spectator mode, and I will go in the middle of my room, so just above the cube, as much as possible. But you don't need exactly to be in the center, because this room is a cube, right? But in your main level, your rooms are more complex, so and with props and everything. So you just try to take the as in the center of the room as much as possible, but you don't need to be perfectly centered, just like approximately. So now I do the same thing. I will hit F12, and when I look at my capture CubeMap again and update, now we don't have the player anymore. So it's clean, and we have captured our environment. So what we want to do with this is we want to take this map, copy it, and I will put it in a folder. I will put it in a folder with my other texture, and I already have it because I did it before to test it. So now we want to exit the level, and here I will select my material, and I will, in the environment map, I will select my CubeMap, and in the environment mask, instead of black, because now I can because when you put black here, it will hide the reflection, so we can properly capture the environment, because we don't want already baked reflection in our when we capture the CubeMap. So now I will go in this folder, and I made some texture for the environment mask, and I will show you the difference between those. Okay. This first one, I will select the first one, which is called M1. And if we look at this texture, so in the RGB, the the RGB of the texture will represent what we want to hide from the reflection QMap. So the white part will be 100% reflection, and the more we go to the black, the less visible the reflection will be. So the white, this is pure white, so it will be 100% reflection, and this is like middle gray, so it will be like the reflection will be like cut in half in the visibility. And for the alpha of this thing, this is weird because the alpha of this is controlling the contrast of the reflection, which is not really useful, to be honest. Like, I think it would be way better if this will control the glossiness of the reflection, like make the reflection more diffuse or more clean, you know. But no, this controls the contrast, and we don't really care about it, so we just set it at middle gray. So middle gray will get us our reflection the way we capture it, and the more white this is, the more contrast or reflection will be. So the black will be more black, and the bright part will be even more bright. And if we put this at black, then our reflection will be more flat and less contrasted. It's a bit as if it's the same effect as if I'm doing like this a bit, or like this here, like this is less contrasted, for example. So this why this is a bit stupid, because we're using like a whole texture for it, and we could just use like a parameter instead. But the most important part is the RGB, because the RGB will control the opacity of our reflection. So white is more reflection and darker is less reflection, as we said before. So we take this, we hit OK, and then we will go test that in game. And as you can see, we have our ceiling light that is reflecting, and it's really bright, so that's why we see a lot of this. And as I move, you can see that the walls of the rooms are reflected on the floor, and the little things, like the little bumps, that's because we have a normal map on our material, and it will create those bumps, which is completely normal. So what I will do next is I will apply this material to one of the wall, and we will see how it looks. So if I take this wall and I apply my floor on it with Control T, and then I reset the coordinates, which don't think about that. This is for a texturing tutorial. So now this is on the wall. We save the map and we will compile it again. And we go test the map. So, and we have our light flickering because why not? Okay. So if we look now at the wall, we have the same material with the reflection. And as you can see, our room is reflected uh, on the wall. And you can see that it's a cube, like we have the floor, the wall, and the ceiling. And it's not like, of course, it's not like in Unreal 4 or in like modern engine because it's not the same technique. This technique is like the old school. This reflection is baked on a texture, so it's really cheap to calculate this. It's all baked, but this is why when we move, the texture will move with us, and it doesn't fit. Um, like you see, this doesn't fit exactly where the reflection should be, but it's a good approximation. So, like as you can see, the yellow band or strip is not exactly positioned at the right place because it's the reflection is baked into a cube map. So, like I said, it's really cheap to calculate. So that's why most older game use this instead of screen space reflection or like even ray trace reflection. But because screen space reflection is more, I think it's for only the DirectX 10, and Fear is using 9, so I don't think we have screen space reflection. But I really like this technique because I think it still works really well for what we want. And another trick we can use is we can also make the reflection more blurry. So we can make the reflection like, if we make this reflection more blurry, we will less notice that it doesn't fit exactly. But also, the more it will also depend of the material. If your material is more rough, then the reflection should be more blurry. And if your material is like less rough, then your reflection will be clean and visible and less diffuse. So we will blur it to make it like more diffuse. So also you can use uh, in the DirectX 9 you can use a planar reflection, which is just a plane. So you can only apply it on flat surface. But with the planar reflection, you can get a better approximation on where the object need to be reflected. But this only work on like flat surface, and it's not cheap. It demands way more power to render it. But cube maps are really cheap to render. So how to make the reflection more blurry? We can just go in Photoshop, and I will just close this. Okay, and I will open my CubeMap, and you can also see the resolution on this is 256. This is for the height, and the width is of course bigger. And I want to reduce the size of the whole texture, and by reducing the size, the reflection will become more blurry in game, and also this will save a lot of space because the file size will be way smaller. So we can save space, and we will also make the reflection more blurry. I can also use a filter like Gaussian blur, so like this, which will I would maybe look better. But if I do this, then we will have problem on the side, because our side will be like cut off, and that's because the algorithm don't care about like where disconnect. So that's why we will just make the picture smaller. So instead of 256, I will use like a really small number, like mm, maybe just this 16, and we use smooth and apply OK. So now the reflection is way smaller, like way smaller. So we'll save this, and we'll save this. Yeah, now we need to say we need to actually save a DDS file. So for this we need NVIDIA plugin, not this one, but like when you save it, you can save a DDS texture, which is a NVIDIA plugin. It's free, so you can just type on Google Photoshop NVIDIA DDS texture plugin. Yeah, and it's free. So we will just choose no alpha, because we don't need an alpha for the CubeMap, and it's TXT1 no alpha. It's the best. This is the smaller fill size. It's the more compressed one, but this is what we want, and we will choose. Normally we choose like a 2D texture, but now we will choose CubeMap, of course, and that's it. Generate maps, of course, and we save, and this is normal. And yeah, so now it should be saved. I will just verify. I will close. Um, so now it's now it's tiny. It's so tiny now. So let's test this tiny little map. So we'll just compile again. This. So now, as you can see, it's way harder to see like the details on the reflection, but we can still see like the big detail, but it's way blurry. So it's harder to see like that the yellow yeah, the yellow strip doesn't connect. Now it's more blurry, so it's more like a general reflection of the room, which is normally what we want. Maybe this is too small, but this feel like we don't see the issue of the reflection not fitting are less noticeable. So that's pretty much it, I will say. So now we just learn how to capture a QMap from the game and how to apply it on the material. And so this will let you make the reflective material looks better, because now they will not only reflect the light, but they will also reflect a bit of the environment also. But it's not like in Half-Life 2, where you can just automatically capture the CubeMap in game without like doing it for each material. So this is why we will only reserve those for the materials that are really reflective, like ceramic tiles or metal, stuff like that, that cover a big surface. Those could use a QMAP, but the stuff like wood or concrete, they are not enough reflective to use a QMAP. So that's my main idea for it. So see you on the next one.